and welcome to the Canine Connection and to an exciting next episode on Puppy Training and Behaviour. I'm your host, Victoria Morris, animal trainer and behaviourist. Well, I hope everyone is having a wonderful time with their new puppy at home. It can be quite a challenging time, lots of sleepless nights and lots of running around. It certainly can keep you on the go, shall we say. Puppy is very vibrant and very, very inquisitive, but it's a fabulous time and it can set its own challenges. So with that in mind, I just wanted to talk us through some really, really good tips that you can start off with your puppy in the home. So the first thing is your puppy is at home, you've got a crate, because I advised in the first episode that we should have a crate. So I just wanted to talk a little bit about the crate and the size of crate. The reason that we use a crate is because it's extremely useful for toilet training. Naturally, a puppy will not want to mess in its own area. So what we can do is we can put a puppy in a situation where they're always going to succeed, or at least succeed most of the times. So by using a crate and using the correct size crate, your puppy will not want to mess in that area. And every single time you take your puppy from the crate, you'll take them to the garden to do toilet. So this is why the crate can be so useful. It's not only for toilet training though, it's really good for setting a routine for your puppy. The same thing as with children. You know, maybe you say to your children, okay, it's 9 o'clock, homework should be done, brush your teeth and off to bed. Exactly the same thing with a puppy or with an adult dog also. But you're giving the puppy a routine and boundaries, and it can be really, really important in terms of developing good obedience and good communication with your puppy, because after all, you want your puppy to respect your commands, respect the routine. It's very, very important to have these boundaries in place. So have a little look online, have a little look at different guidelines in terms of size. But when you are choosing a crate, just make sure that you've got the right size. So from an animal welfare point of view, we want enough space so that our puppy can move around, can sleep, but also not too big in that your puppy would feel happy to go to the other corner of the crate and go to the toilet. Otherwise, you're going to be setting your puppy up to fail. Of course, sometimes maybe you might have little accidents, but as long as you have the right size crate, then you're all set to go. Be also mindful if you have a larger size breed of dogs, such as, I don't know, a golden retriever, perhaps a Labrador, maybe you're going to have to change another 2 times after this puppy crate, according to how big they're getting. Obviously, as they're growing, you may have to change the crate a few times. But you can also get some wonderful crates online where you have crate separators. So there'll be like a wire crate, which are great because you can fold them up, you can travel with them, you can take them to hotels, you can put them in the car, and they also have little dividers in. So as your puppy is growing, you can change the size of that crate. You can also look for Vari kennels as well, which are typically airline approved kennels. These are good, particularly if you have in mind that your puppy is going to be traveling by air travel. They're very, very good, but they are quite cumbersome. The advantage with the wire crate is that they're fairly light. You can fold them up, so there are a lot of advantages there. I would stay away from soft crates with a puppy. Your puppy's instinct is going to be to chew. It's how they're experiencing their world, and a soft crate could be an issue. And you might get a very, very smart puppy that knows how to get out of the soft crate. So with that in mind with crate training, be sure to introduce it slowly. So I said in the last podcast, have the crate in your bedroom. You can have it right next to the bed if you like. And then as the days and the weeks progress, you can start to move the crate a little bit further away from you, therefore desensitizing your puppy to having to be so close. And there are certain advantages with having the crate in kitchens or in living rooms. Again, you're setting really good boundaries. Your puppy's not relying on having you in sight and being close to you. So have a little bit of a think about those things. You might find that your puppy is great straight off the bat with being in a different room in the crate. But if you do find that your puppy is a little bit more nervous, then have the crate by the bed. But just remember with crate training not to respond to any whining or crying. Your puppy will very, very quickly learn that if they cry and they whine and you come to open the crate door, that is a successful strategy to get you to come, to get attention, and to get the crate door opened. So have that in mind with your crate training. What you want to do is you want to feed in the crate. So when you get a little bit later on, you can train them to sit, to stay, and to take the food in the crate when you command. But certainly feeding in the crate is a really good way of creating positive associations with the crate. And what you can do is when your puppy goes in to feed, close the crate door, maybe leave them 10 minutes to feed, and then wait maybe 15 minutes afterwards, and then you're going to do your toilet run directly from the crate to your garden or to outside for the toilet to take place. Start to record your puppy's toilet habits. You'll start to understand as they're getting older, the retention is improving, so you can wait a little bit longer before doing the toilet run, but start with 15 minutes once your puppy arrives. It could even be 10 minutes, but once you start doing this and you're recording it, you'll start to understand your puppy's patterns. And then when you get outside to do the toilet, pick yourself a command. You can use fun things. I tend to use rock and roll. You can use get busy. You can use toilet. Whatever command you want to use, you can use. You could say bananas if you wanted to. It really doesn't matter. It's just the association with the word and then the behaviour. So you'll say this command as your puppy goes to the toilet. And to start off with, I don't mind if you say it a few times. And then afterwards, we're going to give it a little click. I'm going to let you hear this click. So it makes a click sound. So it's what we call a bridge signal. So you're bridging the gap between the behaviour being performed and the reinforcement. So once your puppy has completed the toilet behaviour, you then give a click, and then you can say good boy, good girl, and you can also give a treat. So this is really important, not only the crate, but also the clicker for your success with toilet training. So make sure that you can get yourself a clicker, and when your puppy first arrives, you can gradually start to introduce it. So normally when your puppy arrives, you'll start off with feeding 3 times a day. So try to stick to as regular times as you can. You might also want to add some warm water to the croquettes, first of all, so it's easily for the puppy to eat. And then very quickly you can start to go to croquettes because that is great for the chewing action, for their teeth. So just work that up slowly. And of course, as we mentioned in the last episode, you can gradually change food over if you'd like to. So this can be all done in the crate 3 times a day. And then remember, after each feed, you're taking your puppy out to the garden or outside for toilet. Pick your command. You can use the same command for both functions. And then you're going to click and you're going to treat. If you have any accidents in the house, be sure that you are not punishing these. A, from an ethical point of view, and B, for the relationship that you have with your puppy, it's going to damage it if you start using punishment. So it's far better that you ignore this, you clean the area up with a good cleaning solution, nothing highly scented because your puppy's going to keep going back to those same points. So have that in mind. Also, if you were to punish this behaviour, what you will start to see is your puppy will start to have little accidents behind sofas, this type of thing, because what they're trying to do is to escape the reprimand. So get rid of any form of punishment and focus on shaping the type of behaviour that you want to see. So just remember, with your cleaning solution, nothing highly scented. And always, as far as you can, put your puppy in a situation where they're going to succeed. So identify the patterns. When they sleep, put them in their crate. Always, 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 your first job after the crate is outside for toilet. Remember, after sleep, play, training sessions, these are the key times, and also, of course, eating, these are the times where your puppy's going to want to go to the toilet. And remember, the command that you choose can be used for both functions, for number 2 and also for number 1. You can use exactly the same command. So those are just a few things to keep in mind in terms of crate training and toilet training. In another episode, we will talk more about the obedience, doing the sits and stays, and this type of thing. Just as another little side note, when you're feeding your puppy, remember to pass by the crate. There's nothing stopping you stroking your puppy, or even putting your hand in the bowl to take croquettes out and to put the croquettes back. These are really important exercises. You don't have to do them every single feed, but do practice them. This way, we're preventing our puppy having any problems later on in terms of being protective over food resources or any other types of resources as well. The first thing I would recommend once you've got the crate at home, your puppy's settling into everyday life, before you start to introduce the clicker to your toilet training, have some clicker sessions at home. So when you're chilling out of an evening, get yourself a few treats, get yourself a clicker. You might want to spend 10 or 15 minutes just doing, or maybe even 5 minutes, just clicking and treating. So you're just going to do 1 click, and then you're going to say, good boy, good girl, and give the provision of the treat. The clicker does not always have to be associated with food reinforcement. You can also use praise. It could be a stroke. It could be giving a ball. As long as there is a positive reinforcer after the click, then you're good. But the main things to remember with the click are, don't use them to gain your puppy's attention. Always use it as what we call a bridge signal. So only use it after good behaviour. And if you click by mistake, still reinforce, because we want to maintain the association of what the clicker means. The other thing as well is to stay positive, encourage your puppy, and make it a fun experience. But first, before you start introducing the clicker to your toilet training, make sure that you spend a few days, a few nights, a couple of times maybe in the day, just for 5 minutes, conditioning the clicker so they're starting to understand what the clicker signifies and what it means. So when you first start training with a clicker, you might be using more treat reinforcement to start off with, purely because you have a puppy and you're wanting to reinforce all of the good stuff to such an extent. You really want to encourage that good behaviour to carry on. But as your puppy starts to develop, you'll start to ask them to carry out more behaviour before you click and treat. And also what you'll start to do is vary how you're doing the clicker. Maybe sometimes you'll click and praise, sometimes you'll click and treat. So have these things in mind when you're using the clicker, and set yourself out maybe 5 or 10 minutes, maybe twice a day, to do a training session with your puppy. This is super, super important, and try to record your training as well. This is really important so you can start to see how things are developing, the progress, where you need to improve on, behaviours that need a little bit more time. It's really important to do that, and have a little agreed set of rules for the house. If there's many people in the house, make sure everybody's dealing with behaviour in exactly the same way. I always like to have a little folder. Obviously, you've got your calendar with all of your health appointments in there for various different vaccines, for your wormer, for your tick treatment, these types of things. Have a little folder just for training, and perhaps put your rules on the fridge with just a magnet so that everybody is doing the same thing. The key to successful training is having good consistency. Really focus on shaping the types of behaviour that you want to see. The next thing I wanted to say is, when you're toilet training, I really advise to stay away from things such as newspaper, puppy training pads. When you're toilet training, you really need to have a black and white situation. So essentially, outside is a great place to go, but inside it's not acceptable. With puppy training pads and newspaper, it's not black and white enough, and to a certain extent you're accepting this in the house, and the puppy is not learning retention. They're not learning to hold it until they get the opportunity to be taken out. Also, one of the negatives to using these types of things is puppies can start to develop preferences for going to the toilet on certain surfaces. So often we find with puppies that have been trained using these, they'll look for rugs, bathroom mats, this type of thing. So try to have a black and white situation, deal with the accidents, they will happen, and just making sure that you're cleaning them up properly, and record your training, record the toilet training, look at how it's developing, see how many accidents you're having a day, start to see some improvement with that over the weeks and the days. So really make an effort to understand what your puppy's patterns are and what the retention is. Obviously, this will start to improve with time. The next thing to do is structure your day. So think about, puppies are going to need a lot of sleep, so you want to structure that into your day. And make sure that you give them periods of time where they're in the crate. Perhaps you have ironing to do, perhaps you have the evening meal to cook. It's a good idea for the puppy to get used to you putting them in the crate while you're carrying on with an activity that's important to you. So the puppy's immediately starting to understand it's not always their time, that sometimes you have things to do. The puppy is not reliant on you for those types of things. And at this time, what you can do is give that really, really good enrichment that we mentioned in the first episode into your crate. So you can pop in there Kongs, you can pop in there snack balls, Nyla bones, this type of thing. When you're looking at Kongs, look at lots of different shapes and sizes. That's super important. You can stuff them with lots of your puppy's favourite things. You can think about carrot, you can think about cucumber, banana. I wouldn't recommend high levels of dairy because our dogs don't really digest that super well. But stay with natural foods. They're going to correspond with better behaviour, non-hyperactive behaviour. So think about things that you can cook naturally at home: sweet potato, chicken, beef, and introduce food categories slowly. But it's a good idea for your puppy to get used to variety in terms of what they can tolerate. So the more foods that you can introduce during puppyhood, the more tolerance that your puppy can have to these types of foods. But obviously do see what works well with their tummy. In some cases, you might find puppies deal with some foods easier than others. Maybe there can be sensitivity to certain foods. So always have that in mind as well. And of course, chat to your veterinary professional. Also, with your toys, pop them in a little toy box. It's a good idea to have that toy box out of your puppy's reach, so that you're the one who's handing out those types of enrichment as and when you want to. And you can identify the times when your puppy is most active, and you can give the enrichment at that time. And you can practice every now and then taking a toy, saying give, or whatever your chosen command is. So you will take the toy from their mouth, give a click, and then you can verbally reinforce. You could give a treat if you wanted to, or you could give that toy back as the reinforcement for that give behaviour. But give is super, super important. You may want to start getting your puppy as well in the early stages used to the collar and the lead, or harness if you've chosen a harness. Sometimes for very young puppies, you might want to go for a harness. For certain breeds, you might want to do that, maybe because the neck area is more sensitive in certain breeds. You need to see with your trainer, with your behaviourist, with your vet, what best suits your puppy. But you do want them to get acquainted with it, even though you can't do your walking straight off when your puppy arrives because of the immunity, because you need to get your puppy vaccinations done. Get them used to the idea of this in the house. So what you can actually start to do is start to put the collar on, give a click, give a treat, start desensitizing them to the collar being on. Let them wear it for short periods of time and then gradually increase. And obviously go for a softer collar as you can find. If you're finding that when you put the collar on, your puppy's getting super, super excited, you can start to desensitize them and train them by just presenting the collar, withdraw the collar, click treat, take it halfway around the neck, withdraw, click treat, and then each time you're taking the collar to a larger extent where it's around the neck where you're able to fasten it. So just break the behaviour into stages and train your puppy to have that collar on in stages. And obviously in further episodes, we'll talk about sit, we'll talk about stay, we'll talk about these various different things. And also get them used to the lead. Once the collar is going well, they're used to the collar, you can start to attach the lead. When you attach the lead, to give it a positive association to start off with, we can click and we can treat as well. Then once that's going well, you can just start to walk around your home with the puppy, start to get them used to the idea of being on a collar and lead. Don't worry too much about heel at this specific point, but just get them used to the point of following you on the lead and just getting them acclimatized with that process. Take the puppy into the garden and walk them around on the collar and the lead, using your click and your treat as you go. Remember not to hold the clicker close to your puppy's ear. Remember always to have the clicker down by your side. And you can also get some really, really good clickers, like multi-clickers that have 3 tones on. So perhaps maybe you have a cat in the house and maybe you want to train the cat and the dog with a different tone. You can most certainly do that. And also multi-clickers are really good if you have sound sensitive dogs. So you can put it on the lowest tone if you want to. So have a little look for a good clicker online. So there's already a lot of things for us to think about, and in further episodes we'll talk about more in terms of off the lead. I mean, you can start laying the foundation for this when you're in the garden. You can practice getting your dog to recall to you, giving a click and treat when your puppy recalls to you. You can use commands such as close and this way when you're in the garden, and every time your puppy is following your direction or coming to you, you're clicking and treating. Remember to keep the commands consistent. Choose a command that everybody in the household knows, is natural, and use that all the time. And we can talk a little bit about hand signals as well. I would say when you want to recall your dog, just pointing your index finger down to the floor, using your command, whether it be come or here, and then click and treat when they get to you. We talked about give command, that's also very important. Also, early experience and socialization. So when your puppy first arrives, you're not going to be able to do these walks to start off with because, as we've discussed, the immunity. But it's not unacceptable to take your puppy to places while they're still young, holding them in your arms if it's possible for you, and letting them listen to the sounds, let them meet people. Maybe somebody wants to come and stroke them. And you can also click and treat whenever you're finding good behavior with stimulus, such as greeting people, maybe bicycles going past, skateboarders. Anytime that your puppy is accepting that, is confident, is happy, calm, you can do a click and a treat with that one. So really go to town on early experience and socialization. It really just does make such an important difference. You're going to come across some different things as your puppy is growing and developing, you're going to find different things coming up, such as play biting and jumping. And these, of course, are natural things. And your puppy is very young. Your puppy is going to be inquisitive. They're going to want to investigate things, and they're going to be naughty. The same thing as children are at times. So you're going to be dealing with these various different behaviours. So the most important thing is try not to reinforce unwanted behaviour by giving verbal commands or pushing the puppy down, giving eye contact. These are all things that will end up reinforcing your puppy's unwanted behaviour. But instead, try to look at the root cause of the behaviour. Is your puppy stimulated enough? Does your puppy know the boundaries? Are you providing proper enrichment? Puppies will need a lot of things to occupy them with. So have a little look at the type of enrichment you're providing. Is it enough? Are you picking the right types of enrichment toys that are providing mental and physical stimulation? As I said, Kongs, snack balls, these types of things, they're promoting physical exercise and also giving mental stimulation. Dogs want to solve puzzles, and what you can do with the Kong and the snack ball is you can make them easy or more complex depending on the size of the hole in the top of the snack ball. You can make it easy or big, and it will throw the treats out as your puppy rolls around the snack ball. Also with the Kong, you can pack the treats in, so it's a little bit more challenging. So once your puppy has found it very easy to manipulate these items, you can make it more complex, therefore supplying more stimulation. Other such toys you can look at other like the Kong wobblers. They're really good for socialization, because you'll notice that when they're quite big, but you can buy them according to your puppy's size, and you'll fill it with treats, and it looks exactly the same as a Kong, but it's a bit bigger, but it rocks back and forth. So you're getting your puppy used to random movement. So it's a very good idea to apply these things very early on for socialization. So just coming back to what we were talking about with unwanted behaviour, just make sure that your puppy is stimulated, because that could also be the root cause for a lot of different behaviours. Obviously, play biting, the worst thing you can do is have a reaction to that. You don't want to be letting out big verbal responses to that, such as ouch, because your puppy is going to realise, hey, this is great, I'm getting loads and loads of attention for this, I'm going to keep doing it. So instead, withdraw your attention, withdraw the reinforcement, walk away, don't give it any attention, but at the same time, make sure that enrichment is in place. Also, jumping up as well, turning your back, not reinforcing these types of unwanted behaviours is really, really important. And then, of course, regular training, regular obedience training. You can add maybe 2 10-minute training sessions a day. And in further episodes, we'll talk about how we train our sits and our stays and our comes and the importance of doing so. The other thing to really spend a lot of time with your puppy doing is handling. So when you're chilling out of an evening, watching your favourite programme, practice touching ears, touching under eyes, touching paws, touching the tail, touching along the body. And you can give a click and a treat each time. Start off with small movements. Don't go for a huge amount of stroking to start off with, because then more likely your puppy may have a reaction, get too excited, you might get a play bite. Focus just on very calm, short movements, click and treat, and each time you can build things up. You can maybe start with a brush, for example. You can brush along the coat, maybe just one stroke, click and treat, and then maybe 2 or 3 brushes, strokes of the brush, and then click and treat. And give each of the body parts a name. So when I'm training a puppy, I like to say ears. When I'm looking in ears, when I'm touching eyes, I want to say eyes. And you can also mimic what the vet is going to do in terms of this. So when you're training the ear behaviour, you can start to just touch the ear. Once that's going well, you can click and treat. You can lift the flap of the ear, have a good little look in there. The same as what a vet would need to do if they're checking ears. Give it a click and treat. Again, doing small, minute manipulations and gradually building them up until you can have your puppy in front of you. Do a sit and stay, for example, lift the ear flap, have a good look inside, and then click and treat. Once you've trained the whole behaviour, just break things down as if you're building a house brick upon brick. So it's what we call shaping the behaviour. So have a little go at manipulation with your puppy, and do it regularly. As we said in the last episode, your puppy is going to have the odd health issue, whether it be an ear infection, eye infection, and that's when the negative associations can start to set in when seeing your vet, when doing these these types of manipulations. So practice them regularly, put it as part of your training session. And anything that you find an issue with, train it with the clicker, break it down into little sections, and then build upon approximation each time. And go and visit your vet once obviously your vaccinations are sorted and you've got a little bit more freedom. You can pop in the vet, say hi to the vet. It doesn't necessarily have to be a veterinary appointment. Your vet can just come and say hello, therefore changing the association that going to the vets does not always lead to an examination or an injection or something like this. So always chop and change and keep the associations different, but do as much as you can in terms of handling at home. When you're touching the paws, get in beside the pads and give the paws a really good manipulation. But try to work with small amounts of time before the puppy has a reaction. Click and treat, and then over your days and your training sessions, start to ask more of your puppy. Maybe you'll stay there a few minutes and you'll have a look at the paw, and then you'll click and then you'll treat. The next thing as well is, by this time, hopefully, you're looking at getting a good trainer, a good behaviourist, whatever the situation, whether it be an older puppy, younger puppy. Have a little look into qualifications, ethics, accreditations. And also when you're looking at your vet, make sure that you've got a vet that's super confident with your puppy. Your puppy is always going to respond in a more happy, assured way if the vet's behaviour is deliberate and confident. So very much the vet's approach really does have an effect on how comfortable that pet or that puppy is going to be with handling. And when you go and see the vet, you take your clicker, take your treats, and use all of those commands that you've used at training those handling behaviours at home, whether it be paw, ears, tail, these types of things. Do the same thing in the vets. And once the vaccination's been given, we can give that a click and treat as well. Once the otoscope has gone into the ear, we can say ear as the otoscope's going in, then we can click and treat. So going back to our trainer as well, just make sure that we're working with good ethics, that there is an emphasis around positive reinforcement, that we're not looking at any choke chains, prong collars, that there really is an emphasis on shaping good behaviour. And as I said, if you're looking for a trainer with good ethics, definitely check out associations in your country, and certainly if you're in the UK, APDT as well can point you in the direction of really good trainers. Also, when you're looking at a class, where is the class held? If you're looking at village halls, this type of thing, they're great, but sometimes there can be limitations. I've certainly found over my years when I do my classes in natural environments with naturally occurring stimuli, at some point this can be very, very helpful in terms of working with the natural occurring stimuli that you as an owner are encountering when you're going for walks. So village halls are great, particularly in the early stages where you really want to have less distraction and you want to focus on your general obedience. But as time starts marching on, see if your trainer is offering you classes in natural environments whereby everybody meets in a town, everybody meets at the park, so that you're working with natural occurring stimuli and your trainer is able to help you with that. I have so many people that call me and say, we do great at class, we're in a field or we're in a town hall and my dog behaves perfectly, but as soon as I'm out on the street, we lose our obedience. So any trainers that are offering you those types of services can be really, really good as well. Obviously, when you're looking at a class as well, again, APDT, those classes will be vetted. You'll know that you're getting a professional. There's not going to be too many dogs in the class, and you have the right number of trainers to dogs in the class as well. The other thing as well, if you're employing the services of a dog walker, again, just make sure that they're continuing in the same vein as you are. You want to maintain good consistency with your training. So if they're allowing pulling, if they're not dealing with it in the same way, they're not shaping the behaviour in the same way, it will really interfere with the consistency of your training. And also be wary about their insurance. What other dogs are there? Are the other dogs socialised? Are they matching dogs appropriately to other dogs? Certainly, if they've got many, many dogs, I would say, again, I would advise against this. It's not safe. It can, in some cases, be dangerous. And of course, you want your dog to have good associations, particularly if it's a puppy, with being with other dogs. So if there are other dogs that are not socialised very well, if your puppy is bitten, that is going to cause or could potentially cause behavioural problems later. So it's something to keep in mind. So the next thing really is travel. make sure that your puppy's getting used to travel early on. You can take trips with the crate in the car. You can work with small trips, gradually build up. So get your puppy used to these different types of things. And even if the immunity is not there, you haven't done your vaccinations, you can still get them acquainted with travel by putting them in the car. And also, as I mentioned earlier, you can have your puppy in your arms. You can sit in a cafe, get them used to the sound of traffic, people coming in and out, all the various different sounds. And you can also be clicking and treating as you go. You also want to make sure lots of sound desensitization. So obviously going in the car, going to the cafes, great sound desensitization. But you can also download a CD off of the internet. You can order a CD with all of those different sounds in. And whenever your puppy is happy with those sounds, you can praise. But otherwise, just get them acclimatized to those sounds, starting with a low volume and then gradually building the volume up. Obviously, get straight to your grooming. Certainly when the puppy's had the vaccinations and you're ready for the grooming process, you can obviously do a certain amount of preparation at home with the brush, giving them baths at home, using the click and the treat to reinforce all of the good behaviour and to create positive associations. A good idea is to chat to your groomer. You might have also picked your groomer well before your puppy arriving, and that's certainly a good idea. But what you can do is take your puppy in for a bath. Maybe the breed that you have, maybe they're going to need a little bit more intense grooming later on. So just start off with simple things like a bath. Don't do the whole shebang to start off with. And certainly if you've got a puppy, your groomer probably won't recommend cutting hair at that particular point anyway. But get your puppy used to going to the groomer. And even if you have a breed that is not going to need a groomer necessarily, I would say from a training point of view and a behavioural point of view, it's a good experience. You're leaving your puppy with a trusted groomer, and it's a whole new set of stimuli that they're getting used to, so also useful in terms of socialisation. Obviously, don't forget to keep on top of your health calendar, chat to your vet, have all of your dates in your calendar, and you might want to have a little look at insurance. Make sure that you have your pet insurance as well. You might need that later on, so it's something to think about. And also travel. Think about, are you going to be taking any trips? You might want to chat to your vet about a pet passport. You're going to have a little think about the types of vaccines that you're going to need to do for that. And also make sure that your microchip is done as well. So I hope that's been really useful. I've had such fun talking to you about puppy training and behaviour. There's obviously so much more that we can cover. So do keep in touch for future episodes where we'll go in a little bit more detail about how to train these various behaviours, sit, stay, calm, the basic obedience behaviours that you're going to need. But I think you're going to be well on your way with the basics, and also with your crate training, your toilet training, and getting used to the clicker. So thank you so much for your continued support. Thank you for listening. I do hope that you've enjoyed it, and please do keep posted and watch our future episodes. Thank you ever so much, and it's goodbye from me. And remember, a trained dog is a happy dog. Have fun.